I really hate it when I get stuck in traffic. All I wanted was to go home after a day at school, and yet here I am, stuck in a car because for some reason a bunch of cars are stopped on the road. But this gives me a great opportunity to talk about an engineering issue that affects just about everyone. Hi, I'm Annika, a first-year student studying creative technology and design at CU Boulder, and let's talk about congestion. The fancy engineering definition of congestion is an excess of vehicles on a portion of roadway at a particular time resulting in speeds that are slower than normal. To simplify that definition, congestion is when there's a bunch of cars on a road, making you drive slower. The more cars that are on a road, the more congestion there is, and the longer it takes to get anywhere. In fact, engineers have a word for the time lost because of congestion, and that's time delay. And time delay is a massive problem. It's steadily grown since the 1980s to the point where, by 2000, traffic congestion caused nearly 3.5 billion hours of delay. That's a lot! That's nearly 400,000 years! You could fly all the way to Pluto and back 21,000 times in that amount of time. And this is costing us about $100 billion every year. So, congestion is a problem, and that's a problem engineers want to fix. But before we can fix the problem, we have to measure it. Engineers have found a way to measure congestion using a measurement tool called level of service, shortened to LOS. LOS is graded on a scale of A through F, kinda like grades in school. If a road is rated at LOS A, that means that cars are driving super far apart at or above the speed limit. If a road is rated LOS F, that means that everyone is packed together so tightly that traffic is barely moving at all. But how exactly do engineers grade roads? Well, there's two ways to do it. First is through calculating density. Density, in this situation, is calculated by the number of vehicles per mile per lane, or vehicles divided by miles times lanes. Say we're looking at a mile of a 2-lane road, and there's 5 cars in each lane. The density of this chunk of road is 10 cars, 5 plus 5, divided by 1 mile times 2 lanes, or 5. Now, to determine LOS from that, we look at this handy-dandy chart. Based on our density of 5, our imaginary road is rated at a solid LOS A. If our density was 24 cars per lane per mile, it would be LOS C. If it was 53 cars per lane per mile, it would be LOS F. However, that took a lot of math and a lot of counting. So, engineers designed another way to figure out LOS, and that's through automatic traffic counters. If you've ever seen a black wire stretch across a road, then you've seen an automatic traffic counter. These wires gather data on flow, which is kind of like density, except based on time rather than distance. Flow is calculated by vehicles divided by lanes times hours, and has the unit passenger cars per hour per lane. These wires also gather data on the average speed of vehicles, or how far they go, miles, over a period of time, hours. Once we've gotten numbers for both of these from our traffic counter, then, drumroll please, you'll never guess, we have another handy-dandy chart to figure out the road's LOS rating. Ta-da! If we have a road with flow, say 800 passenger cars per hour per lane, and the car's average speed is 60 miles per hour, that would put that road at LOS B. If flow is 1,600 passenger cars per hour per lane, and average speed is 40 miles per hour, that would put the road at LOS E. You can also calculate density from flow and speed, or flow from speed and density. Thus, no matter what combination of measurements you have, as long as you have 2 of them, you have all 3 of them, and you can figure out LOS. So that's how engineers measure congestion. And look at that! In the time it took me to explain all that, the car is moving again. By having a standard of how to measure congestion, engineers can know where congestion is bad enough often enough that they need to step in and fix it. That way, we'll be able to spend less time sitting bored in cars and more time learning about engineering. Check out the full lesson on TeachEngineering, and then use what you learned about congestion and level of service in the associated activity Grading Congestion, Modeling and Analyzing Traffic Congestion.